Hey guys, with Siege of Tia about to wrap up, we have a little over 2 days right here. We have one boss left before we can challenge Ezerith. Now, obviously when Ezerith opens, I'll have a video on that. But for now, we need to focus the hell out of Lord Phineas. Now, this, in my opinion, is the worst boss of the three, the hardest boss of the three. I'm just going to show you guys a team. I'm going to talk about another team that you guys could also run and just kind of yap about the mechanics. I will say Twin Fiend, or not Twin Fiend, Solkadins was just beaten after Twin Fiend. And what that gives us is it gives us a buff, which actually makes Phineas a lot easier in my opinion. Every 10 seconds after deployment, you'll heal 10% max HP. Lord Phineas will hit a lot of your units somewhat often, but you can full heal without a healer with this and do more damage, which is really, really nice. So that makes it a lot easier to do Lord Phineas. It's almost as if they designed it with the order in mind. Anyways, before we get into Lord Phineas, I do want to quickly buy this. With beating Solkadins, you can get a Warlord or Immortal Warrior piece, and this does not seem that interesting, but if we go look at the piece itself over here, bam, there we go, you can pick whatever you want. I personally would recommend a Warlord weapon, and that is because it will always be a quad piece, okay? Which is huge. Now, Warlord is not very good compared to Wicked Vengeance, obviously, but that is still very, very cool, right? And what we can kind of infer from this is if we beat Lord Phineas and we pick this chest, it will be a quad Soulbound or Infernal Roar piece. That is an insane reward. That is very, very, very nice. While I am a little bit sad we can't pick like Wicked Vengeance or something, that's pretty cool. Like, this is the only Warlord piece of this that I have on my account, at least aside from, you know, pulling this one and having it roll. So I think that's pretty cool. Let me just roll it very quickly before I get into the actual Phineas content. I'll take it. I'm not going to use it, but it's still cool because those pieces are really hard to get. Anyways, we get to Lord Phineas quickly before we get into the run. How does he work? Well, going into the mechanics, he has a couple gimmicks. The main one is he likes to leave the field. He likes to disappear. He likes to make it so your damage does not matter. Now, the way that you can counteract this, the 90% chance to dodge damage, is for putting on debuffs. If you put on debuffs, the dodge chance is reduced by 6%. Now, obviously you could use vulnerabilities and you could use buffs like that, but generally you want to do damage over time buffs, so you also get damage, because this is ultimately a damage rush. So you need to do damage and debuffs. What are you going to do for that? Well, you're going to do the main team that I recommend, which is the poison comp. I also have Lyra there because she does a lot of damage. Right, so that's the main gimmick there, main thing you need to focus on. Anyways, Infernal Purge basically removes all of the debuffs from its health, making you require the debuffs again. You have to put them out again, and it's going to lock on to 5 heroes with the lowest max HP, dealing massive magic damage to them and inflicting burning. Now, if your account is somewhat progressed, this is essentially not going to matter at all, especially with, once again, the Solkadins buff, which heals us passively. Then we get to Sinful Supernova. This is just going to remove debuffs from himself, and he's going to randomly select a hero, dealing single target magic damage to them, basically, right? And then he's also immune to all crowd control effects, as like stun and freeze and stuff. So that's kind of how it works. He leaves the field, and then even when he's on the field, he is immune to damage when he dodges, which is a chance. Just debuff him to get rid of that chance, right? Anyways, there are two main compositions that you could do. I will be showing off the poison comp. As you can see, we do have Infernals here. Infernals are really good. Violetta, tons of burns. Anai, tons of burns. Solkadins does a lot of damage and does burns. You know, Gretchen is really good for this. These are some really good heroes. You could use Infernals, or you could use a Poison Trio. I recommend the Poison Trio purely because Lord Phineas can dodge attacks, and he can leave the field. What does Solkadins do? He does a big attack at once, which means that there is a chance he will not even do damage on his ult, right? So you just gotta have the continuous damage that this gives. Now, if you want to do this, you could either hang out with friends, invite people, or you could use Memoria Assist. I recommend doing this. It's incredibly broken. If you're on my friends list, use my Memoria. I'll do pretty high amounts of damage. For this, we are going to use Cobalt, and then we can use, let's see, does Goha have something? He has the Solkavan setup up right there. Does Panda have it? Yep, Panda does have a setup. Let's use Icy Panda. Now it is a little bit RNG, but we're gonna just go into this, and then I'll show the gear after. Basically, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do the lazy strat. We do not actually need to focus on placements or anything. You could literally just press this button, and it'll place everything for you. As you can see, everything is in Diao-Chan range. Basically just inspiration unit to do damage. And because we heal ourselves, we don't need a Rivenhold instead of a Diao-Chan or something, because we'll just get healed already, right? So that's the general idea there, which is very nice. And we're just gonna do this over and over again. As you can see, everyone else has very similar setups. They're on the sides, I'm in the middle. And yeah, we're just gonna sit here and yap. So in terms of other units you could use, this is where I'm gonna talk about substitutions. You could use really any strong single target damage dealer. Ideally, if you're using Esotericist or Infernal, you want to stick in that type of, you know, faction. So for this, I guess I could swap like Lyra out for, I don't really know who to swap her out for. I just think Lyra does so much damage. You're going to see her kind of jump up to top 3 damage throughout the fight, I'm pretty sure. But you just need single target damage. You could even probably use like a Valara, for all I know, that might do some decent damage. You can maybe try doing like Arbiters for Radiant Erosion. The issue with that, in my opinion, is the fact that Radiant Erosion technically only counts as 1 debuff, I think, even if it has 3 stacks, which can be a little weird. And you can see right here, like, this just works so freaking well that it's kind of hard to compare. Regardless though, like I said, just try to have damage over time effects, right? Anai, Violetta may even have more damage over time effects, but I do have a suspicion that it does cap out at a certain amount of debuffs, so I don't know if it would actually matter. Regardless, damage-wise, Numera is going to be the best. My Numera is A3, which is her most important awakening. Even if it isn't, you'll still do some good damage. And the goal that we are aiming for max contribution is 2 billion score. You do not need to hit this. The important thing to remember is if everyone does half of what the max is, it is still better than only like 30% of people doing the max. You know what I mean? So even if you're not getting a super high score, if you can borrow a friend's, you know, more memoriam or whatever it's called, even if you're getting one shot by the boss, that's still going to be a ton of help towards beating this boss. Right now, we're getting to the home stretch. We need to try to focus our damage. As you can see, I overshot it a little bit, doing almost 1 billion damage with Numera top damage, then Nestia and Lyra right there. And Vorn is helping set up Numera. And you can see similar damage numbers around here as well. Basically, just do what you can is the main takeaway I will have today for this video. Anything you can do is good progress, right? We do ideally want to do some other tiles in order to get these rewards in the normal section, right? Refining crystals are obviously nice. Then again, everything past that point is kind of unless you're early on, which obviously it's helpful and we should try to unlock it eventually. But the main goal is to beat the final boss. So even if you're early game, just do what you can. Every little bit of damage, every little bit of contribution is a huge, huge help. And once again, if you're not strong enough or maybe you're lacking damage, feel free to borrow someone else's units, right? And if you have not challenged Phineas yet, please challenge him so that people can borrow your memoriam and do more damage, okay? That is the main advice. We are reaching the home stretch. We can do this. For sure, we can get all the rewards, etc., but we gotta commit, is all I'm gonna say. Anyways, it's been a fun event so far, even though I kind of don't want to have to do 4 more fights of this, even though I will for the greater good. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Good luck. And I'm excited to see what Ezra has in store. That's it from me. Destined signing out.